What is going on, guys? Welcome to this episode of Odds and Ends. As you can see, I got a little sunburnt. So today I'm going to be an inside kid, and I wanted to play my Game Boy. So I dug this out. It's a little dirty. So what we're going to do is we are going to take this thing apart, and we're going to clean it out. Shit. Alright, I fixed that. Put a little tape on there. So here we go. So, I love the Game Boy. So today, we're going to take it apart, and we're going to fix that damn screen. Alright guys, welcome to the Game Boy Teardown video. Today we're just going to tear it down its basic components, clean it, and put it back together. And of course, we're going to fix the screen. We're not going to do any electrical work. So if you break your Game Boy, do not blame me. We're going to need a couple tools here real quick. Got the tri-wing screwdriver, we'll need that. A Phillips head or crosshead screwdriver, we'll need one of those. And we need a flathead screwdriver. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just remove this screen, get it off of there. We'll deal with that later. And you can see how dirty these Game Boys can get. This one actually isn't too bad. So, alright, first thing we're going to do, flip this thing over, remove the battery cover. We'll deal with that later. And you can see that there are 6 holes. One there, one there, one there, and one there. And then there's 2 inside the battery cover. This is where your tri-wing screws would be. I already went ahead and removed those. So, flip this bad boy back over. Now, when you are separating the top from the bottom, there is a ribbon cable, and you do not want to just grab this thing and rip it apart because you could damage that cable. So what you want to do is you want to turn the Game Boy towards you, face up, and then if you just lift up, you can see the ribbon cable right there. Now this will unwork from the rear board. You can see it right there. So what you want to do, put your hands in there like so. And you just want to work that ribbon cable out just like that. Now, turn this around, and now we're looking at the rear board. The rear board is attached to the rear of the Game Boy. So, let's take this thing apart, and you can see that there's 2 screws down here, Phillips head, boom, boom, yay! And then there are going to be 2 screws right here. So we'll get those apart and we'll see what's doing. All right, we took those screws out. Here's where you might need a flathead screwdriver just to kind of get in there, pop that board out a little bit. We'll set that over there. And as you can see, there's our cartridge slot and all that stuff. Turn this over and you can see the contacts. Now to get those out, what you do is you turn this over, and if you can see right there, we're not going to take them out because this one actually doesn't need to be cleaned, but all you're going to do is you're going to take a flathead screwdriver, going to push down on that, and then it'll pop right out. And then you would do the same thing there and there to get these bottom ones out. I recommend taking a picture so you know which way those contacts go in. However, once you put the board back in, because there's 2 contacts on the bottom of the board, it will automatically prompt you, you know, where to put stuff. So we'll go ahead and take this cartridge port cover off because we're going to wash that. And yeah, stay tuned. All right, as you can see, we took the screws off of the cartridge cover, the shielding in there. We'll wash that. Don't forget about this piece right here. This is the top of the Game Boy where your power switch is. Don't lose that, misplace it, eat it, drop it down the drain, anything like that. So there's the back of our Game Boy, guys. It is completely taken apart and ready to be scrubbed. We'll set that aside. We will pull in the front board and we'll take a look at it. On this one, there's going to be 10 Phillips head screws. And what I recommend, kind of like with the N64 video, is just go ahead and take a picture with your cell phone. That way you've got kind of a map. But just in case you were wondering, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, this board, depending on your Game Boy, may be a little bit harder to get out. I've already kind of removed it, so it'll be easier because I'm only working with one hand here. But basically what you do if you need to is you kind of go at these corners and kind of lift them up. So the rear board should come out, or I'm sorry, the front board should come out really easy. And if you've dealt with any type of Nintendo controller ever, you will recognize this setup right here. We've got our rubber pieces, or rubber backers for our D-pad, start and select, and our A and our B button, just like an NES controller. All of that's going to end up being washed, so we'll throw that in there and we'll set that aside. Let's look at our front board very quickly. If we turn that over, well, actually, let's start with the back. If you have a Game Boy that has a bad speaker, here's where you need to replace the speaker. Looks like it's just 2 solder joints. I've actually never replaced it. There's your volume wheel, I think, or brightness and contrast wheel. Let's turn it over. We got our screen. And yeah, the screen here is pretty good. Yeah, that's really all we're going to talk about on that. Actually looks pretty nice. The rear board is a little bit more interesting. There's the back that we saw when it came out. But if we follow this down, that's where the headphone jack would normally be. And you can tell this is an older model Game Boy. And so if you open your Game Boy and you look at these chips and processors and stuff right there, if there is a black blob that they put over that, that's an early Game Boy. And what that is Nintendo put this like black gooey mass on top of these processors and chips so that, you know, competitors and whatnot couldn't take it apart and steal the technology, I guess. But okay, so we have a cartridge port right here. It's a little hard to see. There we go. We're going to clean that just like we clean any other cartridge port on any other system. We're going to get some Windex. We're going to get it in there. And we're going to use the credit card method, which is my preferred method. Where you take an Advantage Club card and some cloth, and you get down in there and clean it all out. Let's see. Yeah, we got the power button, or the power jack right there. And yeah, one of these is the brightness and one of them is the contrast. I don't really remember. I mean, look. Looks like that one's the volume. All right, guys, we have removed everything that we need to remove from our Game Boy. The next step is to just take these parts and this part, and we'll go ahead and wash them. Use hot soapy water and wait till they completely dry until you put it back together. All right, put those 4 screws back in the rear board. One thing I did forget to mention was now is the appropriate time to put the power switch back on, and it just slides in there, and then you put the board on, and yeah, it should be secure. So, all right, let's get to the front plate. Let's talk about that screen. Let's slide in the front plate. Looks nice and clean. I'm not going to say factory new, but I am going to say it is nice and clean. Yeah, these screens, they just fit right on there like that. But let's talk about this real quick for a second. I've done this repair on a few different Game Boys, and I've actually ordered these screens off the internet. So if you have a screen that's really scratched up, this one's actually in not bad shape. But you can order these off the internet, and basically what you do is it comes with a piece of paper on the back, and you peel it, and then you just stick it right back in its spot. If you can salvage the original, then I would say do that. The ones that you peel the backs off of, the adhesiveness thing, whatever they put on there, whatever the chemical is that they put on the back of the screen, isn't very good. And over time, your screen will start to pop up similar to that. Right? So if you can use the original, then I say use the original. But it is going to require you to do some cleaning or some additional maintenance. The first thing you can kind of see the glue marks from the original in there. Again, I've tried a couple different methods to get that out of there. I've tried to use a flathead screwdriver and kind of scrape it off. That's very tedious, and you end up actually scratching the plastic. I tried to heat it up with a hair dryer, and you know, that was kind of the same thing. Heat up with a hair dryer to kind of soften it up, and then use a flathead screwdriver to kind of try and peel it away. That really didn't work. I've tried to put different kinds of chemicals on there. I've tried to use like you know, Goo Gone, heat it up and use Goo Gone. I've tried to use like a Brasso and get in there, because Brasso is a little bit more abrasive. I've tried to get in there and basically, you know, sandpaper it off with the Brasso, and that worked okay. But the very best method is to use a sponge that has the yellow on the one side and then the really thick, scruffy green on the other side. Use that scruffy green side, and basically you're just going to work that stuff down. As you can see, it's not all the way off, but to the touch, it's very flat. Once you've got that done, then this is what I recommend. I recommend taking a Q-tip, getting some super glue, and super gluing around the edges here. Serves two purposes. You get this bottom part with super glue, and then you get this edge right here with super glue. So it's making contact with your screen on, you know, more surfaces. The other thing is, do not get the super glue all, you know, along here by the frame, you know, where the screen's going to come through. Because what's going to happen is you're going to put this on and you're going to push it down to kind of secure it, and that glue is going to come out from behind there, and it's going to get onto the screen, the back of the screen. You're never going to get it off, or it can get onto the screen on the front board. So when you're putting these screens back on, just keep that in mind. Again, I use a Q-tip and then super glue around the edges like that, and then I put my screen on, and I'll let it sit there for a couple hours or so, just to make sure that the bond is gonna hold it closed. Now, with the super glue, you get one shot, so you got to make it count with your one shot. So we'll get the super glue back on this thing, and then we'll put it back together, and we'll be ready to roll. Okay, we put the screen on. It's in there, super glued. So yeah, let's start putting this bad boy together. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take all these little doodads and whatchamacallits, and we're gonna put them right back in their spots. So there's the D-pad. There is our D-pad backer. Start and select button. Get in there, buddy. And then the A and the B button are the same button. So either way, throw that back on there like that, and we are ready to put the board back in. Just set that on there, and should drop in no problem. Okay, let's get those screws back in there, and we'll see if we can finish this up. All right, we're back. Let's get this thing together. We've got the front and the back boards in their respective carriers. Last thing we need to do is take care of this ribbon cable. So just like we did before, we're going to turn this facing towards us, the rear board facing towards us. Then we're going to take the front screen, turn it over like this, So it's facing towards us, and then we're going to get that ribbon cable. And it should just slide right in there with minimum effort. Just like that. It's secure. And all we need to do now is put the 6 tri-wing screws in the back. Alright, we got some batteries in there. Super Mario Land. Turn that baby over. Let's see what we got. Run! That was awesome. Alright guys, hey, that's going to do it for this episode of Odds and Ends, Nintendo Gameboy Teardown. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope it helps, if you guys are thinking about tearing down your Game Boys and things like that. So, alright, see you guys next time. Peace!